Responsive design. Today we are going to talk about the importance of responsive design and how this concept changed the way that the industry of web development has coding the websites and how this is important and why this is important. What is responsive design? Responsive web design is about using HTML and CSS to resize, hide, shrink, enlarge, or move the content to make it look good on any screen. So if you can imagine, nowadays we have many different screens, not only desktop like years ago. And this became a big challenge for websites to be able to provide the information to the user in a good design and in a good layout, since in some situations you have horizontal and vertical proportions. As you see in this image, we have tablets, we have smartphones, laptops, and desktops, and every day more is coming more different devices. For example, now there's a watch, the Apple Watch, that's a really small screen, but also there is the development of apps and different kinds of contents for watches and other kinds of screens. Why responsive design is necessary? So if you imagine one website without being able to change itself, change its layout to adapt for different screens, can you imagine that layout being presented in a horizontal screen and changing it for a vertical screen without lost part of its content or part of the information that's trying to be sent to the user? So this is why it's necessary you be able to make your website dynamically changeable. Back in the days, the difference of size between monitors were not a big problem. Most of the monitors were horizontal and they have similar proportions. You'd have a wide screen and a standard screen. That would be the biggest problem, but you still would be able to show most of your content in your website. A tip is that the monitors vary in size but not in proportion. Not change too much the website whenever you stick it. You'd sometimes make a picture blur, or it could change the proportion and change a little bit of the configuration and the formatting of the text, but it was not a big deal. It was not in a level that made it inaccessible for most of the users. The real challenge, it started when the smartphones came and took a huge market slice. The smartphones, different of the normal phones that people had back in the days, also known as a cellular, the big difference was the possibility of the users access the internet through the phone browsers. Especially with the iPhone, the pioneer in that area, you had a browser that was the Safari that specifically developed for the first to the iPhone. It was a big problem because the Safari, besides the design, it was also different proportion, totally different proportion. You had a horizontal screen now, and the users are trying to use that as often as desktops. They want to access the information, the website, your business website, when they are in a subway, when they are in the streets, when they're having lunch, and they don't want to stop by a screen or open their laptops to access information. There is so many different brands after a while and different screen size that it became kind of chaotic. And besides the size problem of the screen size problems, there is also the problem with compatibility, because most of the old users would be using Internet Explorer, and after the Internet Explorer you still have the Firefox and the Chrome. Some situations you need to do a different code for different browsers, and now you have Safari taking a huge market slice and being necessary you make specific coding for that. Okay, So the solution was to create a way to the website adapt itself according to the size of the screen. And what was the solution? How would be possible make a solution to the coding? So the solution at first was the meta tag named viewport. First was create a meta tag called viewport. This will set the viewport of your web page, which will give you the browser instructions on how to control the page dimensions and scaling. So now you have a tag called viewport that you add on your HTML, and it allows you a website to adapt the proportion of image and text and content to the width, to the dimensions and scaling of your screen. How it works? So in a practical, here's an example of a web page without the viewport meta tag and the same web page with the viewport meta tag. So you can see in the first example, without the viewport meta tag, the image and the text don't adapt for the smartphone. It's just keep the 50% or whatever fixed width there is in the image and in the text. But in the second example, you have adaptation of the image. The content is adapting itself for the dimensions of the width of the page. So this starts to make a huge difference. But that was not enough. So we need to come with a plus. This plus the media queries. Media queries are an easy way to make a website adapt in real time to the extreme difference of width between different devices, allowing you to use only one code that will be dynamically per website. How to use it? So you have two ways to use meta queries, pretty much. So you can use it external or in one style sheet. One of these tricks is used to media queries, which work to call styles to the user device based on each dimension. There has been some debate in the past on whether media queries are the best solution when it comes to mobile first, and that debate is still continuing. So, talking about the mobile first, why mobile first? So, the idea of mobile first is, if I'm developing a website, I need to do this accessible first to mobiles and then adapt the media queries to larger screens. This was very necessary, especially in the past, because the device would not accept the media queries. The device would not be able to read, especially Safari back in the days, would not be able to read the media queries coding. So they need to develop all the coding for mobile and then add the media queries that would change that layout for larger screens. So you could do it external, like calling the style sheet from the HTML, using the attribute media inside a link tag, or you could have one style sheet and then you'd use a media query as a line of code inside the CSS, like an example that you see on the screen. We have these two examples. In the media queries, you also call breakpoints whenever you finish your media query. So, for example, if you have a picture that for a smartphone, you say, I want that picture full screen. I want that picture going 100% width. So you can put that code normally as you would do with CSS, and you add, for example, a breakpoint to say, I want it to change for iPads. So in this example on the screen, you can see the iPads, it starts after 768 pixels. So you are saying this code that between 768 pixels and 1024 pixels, you want to change that image width size. So you, in the styles inside this breakpoint, say the width of this image you change for 7%. And you can add an extra breakpoint if you want it to change again when you reach the desktop size. In this example is a 1224 pixels. So you'd add a new code and you'd say, now I want the picture with a width of 50%. So this would come in the end of the CSS coding, and the browser, when the browser reached that code, he would read that as last code and would change depending the width of your screen because you're using the media queries. So these were example of some common breakpoints that use it for smartphones, iPads, that the most common tablet to use it, and desktops and most laptops.